There is a rumor swirling around right now that has completely shaken the ground in Montecito. And if true, it is not just a headache for Meghan Markle. It is a full-blown catastrophe. We are talking about the kind of news that keeps people up at night, pacing the floors of their multi-million-dollar mansions. Reports are coming in from multiple sources, circulating heavily on social media over the last 24 hours, that Jessica Mulroney, the woman who was once Meghan's shadow, her stylist, her confidant, her absolute best friend, has been offered a staggering $1 million to write a tell-all memoir. And not just any memoir. We are talking about a book that would allegedly blow the lid off everything that happened before Harry, during the courtship, and in those chaotic early days of the marriage. This isn't just about a broken friendship. This is about the keeper of the secrets potentially handing over the keys to the vault. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is good to have you here with me today because we have a lot to unpack. You know, we often talk about how the past has a funny way of catching up with people, no matter how fast they run or how far they move away. You can cross an ocean, you can change your title, you can surround yourself with new PR teams, but the people who knew you before, the ones who knew the real you, they are always there in the background. And right now, it seems like the past is knocking on the door with a very loud, very expensive offer attached to it. Let's be honest about something. We have seen plenty of books come out about the Sussexes. We had Revenge by Tom Bower, which was excellent and incredibly detailed. We had Courtiers by Valentine Lowe, which gave us the staff's perspective on the bullying allegations. We've even heard from Samantha Markle, although her reach has always been limited by the fact that she wasn't in the inner circle during the crucial years. But Jessica Mulroney, that is an entirely different ballgame. That is a threat level that Meghan has likely never had to deal with before, because Jessica wasn't just a friend. She was the architect. Think back to 2016, 2017, and even the wedding in 2018. Who was always there? Who was walking behind her? Who was helping plan the outfits, the press strategy, the introduction to high society? It was Jessica. They were inseparable. They called themselves the Praise. Remember that? It was a friendship that seemed so intense, so intertwined, that you couldn't really tell where one ended and the other began. Jessica was the one who knew where the skeletons were buried because, in many cases, she was probably holding the shovel. She knew exactly what the plan was when Meghan started dating Harry. She knew the timeline. She knew what was said in private when the cameras weren't rolling, and most importantly, she knew Meghan before she became the Duchess. She knew the struggling actress, the lifestyle blogger, the woman who was desperate to make a name for herself. That is why this $1 million offer is so significant. Publishers aren't throwing that kind of money around for a fluff piece. They don't want a book about how nice the flower arrangements were at the wedding. They are paying for dirt. They are paying for the text messages, the emails, the late-night conversations that were never meant to see the light of day. And you have to wonder, with everything that has happened between them, is Jessica finally ready to cash in? We all saw how that friendship ended, and it was brutal. It was cold. It was frankly a masterclass in how to discard someone when they no longer serve a purpose. You'll remember the controversy a few years ago. Jessica got into a public spat with a lifestyle influencer, Sasha Exeter. It was a messy situation, and Jessica was accused of white privilege and using her status to threaten another woman's career. It was bad behavior, certainly, and she faced consequences for it. She lost her television gigs, she was publicly shamed, and her reputation took a massive hit. But what did her best friend do? The friend she had supported through thick and thin? The friend whose children were page boys and flower girls at the royal wedding? Meghan didn't just distance herself, she evaporated. She ghosted her. There was no public statement of support, no "my friend is going through a hard time and learning," no compassion, just silence. Sources at the time said Meghan felt that Jessica's controversy was tainting her brand. Can you imagine? After everything they had been through, after all the secrets they shared, to be dropped like a hot potato the moment things got difficult? That has to sting. That has to leave a mark. And a woman scorned is dangerous, but a best friend betrayed. That is a whole other level of fury. For years, Jessica has stayed relatively quiet. She posts her cryptic quotes on Instagram. She shares photos of her life, but she has never really spoken out against Meghan. She has kept the code of silence. But everyone has a breaking point, and everyone has a price. If these reports are true, and there is $1 million contract on the table, it might be very hard for her to say no. Especially when you consider that her career was effectively torched while Meghan went on to sign multi-million-dollar deals with Netflix and Spotify. There is a sense of injustice there, a feeling that one person got away with everything while the other was left to pick up the pieces. And let's look at the timing of this. Why now? Why is this story bubbling up in February 2026? Well, look at the state of the Sussex brand. It is crumbling. The Spotify deal is gone. The Netflix deal is hanging by a thread. The lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, seems to have stalled before it even really started. We aren't seeing the jam, we aren't seeing the cooking show, we aren't seeing the products. There is a sense of desperation in the air, and when blood is in the water, the sharks start circling. Publishers know that the public is tired of the curated, polished victim narrative that Harry and Meghan have been pushing for years. People are hungry for the truth. They want to know what really happened behind closed doors, and Jessica is the only one who can tell that story from the inside. What could be in this book? That is the question that must be terrifying Meghan right now. It wouldn't just be about the royal family. In fact, the most damaging parts might have nothing to do with the royals at all. It would be about the before, the yacht years, the networking, the strategic dating. We know Jessica was heavily involved in Meghan's life when she was traveling a lot, meeting wealthy men, trying to secure her place in the social hierarchy. There are photos from that era that have been scrubbed from the internet, stories that have been buried. Jessica was there for the single girl summers. She knows who Meghan was meeting, who she was spending time with, and how she managed to land a prince. There is a theory that Meghan's biggest fear isn't about being called difficult or demanding. It's about being exposed as a fraud. It's about the carefully constructed mask slipping off. If Jessica writes this book, she strips away the humanitarian veneer and reveals the calculated ambition underneath. She could share text messages where they discuss strategy. She could reveal what Meghan really thought of the royal family before she joined it. Did she really not know who Prince Harry was? Did she really never Google him? Jessica knows the answer to that. Jessica probably helped her Google him. And think about the personal nature of it. Jessica knows the intimate details of Meghan's first marriage to Trevor Engelson. She knows about the breakup with ensuring chef Corey Vitiello. She knows the timeline of how Harry overlapped with other interests. These are the details that ruin the fairy tale. It's hard to sell yourself as a modern-day princess when your former best friend is explaining exactly how you schemed to get the crown. There is also the matter of the bullying report. Remember that? The report on how staff were treated at Kensington Palace that was buried? Well, Jessica was around for a lot of that. She was there during the wedding prep. She saw how Meghan spoke to people. She saw the Tiara-gate drama unfold. If Jessica corroborates the stories of bullying, if she says, "Yes, I saw her make people cry, I saw her scream at staff," it validates everything the men in grey suits said. It vindicates the palace. And that is the last thing Meghan wants. She needs to be the victim. She needs the palace to be the villain. If her own best friend says, actually she was a nightmare, the victim narrative collapses completely. But there is something even darker lurking in the background here, something that makes the timing of this book deal even more explosive. We have to talk about the company Meghan was keeping back then. We have to talk about the circles she was moving in. You see, Jessica Mulroney wasn't just a stylist. She was a socialite. She was connected to high society in Canada and beyond. And through those connections, there were parties, there were events, and there were people whose names have since become synonymous with scandal. We have all heard the whispers. We have seen the blind items. But recently, things have become a lot more specific. And this is where the potential memoir goes from being just embarrassing to potentially career-ending. Because if Jessica decides to open up about the travel, the yachts, and the specific individuals they were brushing shoulders with, we aren't just talking about a celebrity feud anymore. We are talking about a connection to one of the most horrific scandals of our time. I'm sure many of you have seen the photos circulating on Twitter and social media over the last few days. It feels like the internet has suddenly decided to dig up the archives. There is one photo in particular that has everyone talking again. It's from around 2016, allegedly. It shows a group of women on a yacht. And the claim, the very loud, persistent rumor, is that one of those women is Meghan. And she isn't just hanging out with random tourists. The allegation is that she is in the company of people connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Now pause for a second. That is a heavy accusation. It's the kind of thing that gets dismissed as a conspiracy theory by the mainstream media. They tell us, "Oh, don't look at that. That's just trolls making things up." But why is it that these rumors never seem to die? Why do they keep coming back year after year? And why, specifically, is this resurfacing right now, at the exact same moment that Jessica Mulroney is reportedly being offered $1 million to talk? It makes you wonder if the publishers know something we don't. It makes you wonder if they know that the dam is about to break, and they want to be the ones to sell the story. If Jessica was there, if she was part of that social circle, if she knows the truth about the Yacht Girl days, then she holds the nuclear codes. Meghan can sue newspapers. She can try to silence YouTubers. She can get her squad to report accounts on Twitter. But she cannot silence someone who is in the room. She cannot sue her way out of the truth if her best friend has the receipts. The fear in Montecito must be palpable. You have to imagine the frantic phone calls to lawyers. Can we stop her? Did she sign an NDA? What does she have on us? But here is the thing about NDAs. They often don't cover illegal activities, and they often don't hold up if the person speaks out in a certain way. And let's face it, if the money is right and the anger is deep enough, people find a way to tell their story. We have seen Meghan cut off her father. We have seen her cut off her siblings. We have seen her cut off her childhood friends. She has pruned her life of anyone who doesn't fit the current narrative. But Jessica is different. Jessica was the co-pilot. You can't just erase the co-pilot from the history books without people asking questions. And if the co-pilot decides to grab the microphone, the plane is going to crash. As we move into the next part of this discussion, we need to look closer at these specific rumors that are resurfacing. Because it's not just about a generic yacht story anymore. There are names being mentioned. There are dates. There are photos being analyzed by thousands of people online. And the connections are starting to look a little too close for comfort. It's one thing to be a struggling actress looking for a break. It's another thing entirely to be linked to a circle of people who were preying on young women. This is where the story gets dark, and this is where the Duchess title starts to look very, very fragile. If the public starts to believe that the humanitarian, the feminist, the woman who preaches about uplifting voices, was actually running in circles with the likes of Ghislaine Maxwell, the game is over. There is no coming back from that. And if Jessica Mulroney is the one to confirm it, well, that is the end of the road. Stay tuned, because we need to get into the gritty details of what is surfacing right now. The photo from 2016, the connections to Epstein's associates, and why the internet is convinced that Meghan's past is darker than she has ever admitted. We are going to break it all down. Now, let's get into the deep end of the pool, or rather, the ocean. We left off talking about the company Meghan was keeping before she met Harry, and specifically, the rumors that have exploded online just in the last 48 hours. If you have been on Twitter or Reddit, you have likely seen the photo. It is grainy, it is from a distance, but the internet sleuths are convinced they have found the smoking gun. We are talking about an image that allegedly dates back to August 2016. In the photo, there is a group of women relaxing on a luxury yacht. One of them is wearing a wide-brimmed hat and large sunglasses, hiding her face. But the posture, the style, the body language, people are screaming that it is Meghan Markle. But it isn't just about her being there. It is about who she is sitting next to. The woman beside her has been identified by multiple online investigators as Karina Shuliak. For those who don't know that name, Karina was the last girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein. She was with him in Paris, she was with him in the Caribbean, and she was reportedly one of the people who stayed loyal to him until the very end. If that is indeed Karina Shuliak sitting next to Meghan Markle on a yacht in 2016, the implications are absolutely nuclear. Think about the timeline. Summer 2016. This is right around the time Meghan met Harry. This is the single girl summer era where she was traveling through Europe, posting photos of rosé and beaches on her blog, The Tig. We were told she was just living her best life, meeting friends, and doing humanitarian work. But if she was rubbing shoulders with Epstein's inner circle, with women like Shuliak, and by extension, Ghislaine Maxwell, that paints a completely different picture. It suggests that her entry into high society wasn't just about acting. It was about networking in some very dark, very exclusive circles. The term Yacht Girl gets thrown around a lot in Hollywood. It is often dismissed as a slur, a way to shame women who date wealthy men. But in this context, it takes on a much more sinister meaning. We know how the Epstein operation worked. We know that young, beautiful women were recruited, groomed, and passed around to powerful men. The question that has been whispered for years and is now being shouted from the rooftops is, was Meghan part of that system? Was she recruited? Or was she just a social climber who didn't ask too many questions about who owned the boat? There have been rumors for a long time that Meghan's name appears in the sealed Epstein files. People have speculated that she might be one of the Jane Does, or perhaps listed as a witness. We know that Prince Andrew is heavily implicated in that scandal. Imagine the irony and the horror for the royal family if it turns out that Prince Harry's wife has connections to the exact same group of people that destroyed his uncle's reputation. It would mean the call is coming from inside the house. And this brings us back to Jessica Mulroney. Why is she the key to all of this? Because Jessica was the travel buddy. Jessica was the one planning the trips. If Meghan was on a yacht in the Mediterranean with Epstein's cohorts, it is highly probable that Jessica knows about it. Maybe she was there. Maybe she took the photo. Maybe she was the one who made the introduction. Jessica's family is powerful in Canada. They have connections to politicians, to billionaires. It is not a stretch to think that Jessica was the bridge between Meghan the actress and the global elite. If Jessica writes this memoir, and if she decides to address the Yacht Girl rumors, she could confirm everything. She could say, yes, we were there. Yes, we met Ghislaine. Yes, we knew who they were. Or she could say, Meghan was desperate to meet a rich husband, and she didn't care who introduced them. Either way, it destroys the victim narrative. It destroys the idea that Meghan was this naive, innocent woman who was swept off her feet by a prince. It reveals a level of calculation that is chilling. And let's look at the evidence piling up. The photo from February 9th is just the tip of the iceberg. People are digging up old interviews where Meghan talks about her favorite vacation spots, her love of travel, her connections. They are cross-referencing dates. They are looking at flight logs. The Internet is doing the investigative journalism that the mainstream media refuses to do. The mainstream media is terrified of being sued, terrified of being called racist. But the public just wants the truth. And the truth looks very suspicious right now. Why is this hot news? Because it connects the dots. It explains why Meghan has been so quiet lately. Have you noticed? She has been practically invisible. No paparazzi walks, no big speeches, just silence. When a narcissist goes quiet, it usually means they are plotting or they are panicking. And with the resurgence of these Epstein rumors combined with the threat of Jessica's book, panic seems like the more likely option. She knows that if one domino falls, they all fall. If the public accepts that she was a yacht girl, then everything else, the feminism, the humanitarianism, the moral superiority, it all looks like a costume. We also have to talk about the sheer failure of her current projects, which makes this scandal even more damaging. If she was riding high, if her brand was successful, maybe she could weather this storm. But she isn't. American Riviera Orchard is a ghost town. We were promised a lifestyle empire. We were promised jams, home goods, a Martha Stewart-style takeover. What did we get? Nothing. A few jars of jam sent to influencers who barely posted about them. The trademark applications have had issues. The CEO quit. It is a disaster. So you have a failing business, a husband who seems increasingly unhappy and isolated, and now the ghosts of the past are coming back to haunt you. It is the perfect storm. And where is Harry in all of this? That is the question we always come back to. Does he know? Did she tell him, "Oh, I just went to a party on a boat once. I didn't know who they were"? Or is he completely in the dark? Harry has always been paranoid about the press, paranoid about security, but he seems to have a blind spot when it comes to his wife's history. He has rewritten history to make her the ultimate victim, the saint who saved him. If it turns out that she was swimming in the same murky waters as his disgraced uncle, how does he reconcile that? Does he stand by her? Or does he finally wake up and realize that he married a stranger? The rumors about a feud between William and Meghan also make more sense in this light. Remember how William allegedly told Harry to slow down. Remember how he was worried about Meghan's intentions. Maybe William knew. The royal family has intelligence services at their disposal. They run background checks. It is very possible that MI5 or MI6 flagged these connections years ago. Maybe the rift isn't just about Meghan being rude to staff. Maybe it's about the fact that the future king knew his brother was marrying someone with a very compromised past. If Jessica Mulroney puts pen to paper for that $1 million, she confirms William's suspicions. She validates every warning Harry ignored. It would be the ultimate "I told you so" for the royal family, but it would be a tragedy for Harry. And let's not forget the financial aspect. $1 million is a lot of money, but the damage it would do to the Sussex brand is incalculable. They rely on their image to make money. They need Netflix to renew their contract. They need people to buy their books and listen to their podcasts. Who is going to invest in a brand that is associated with the Epstein scandal? Who is going to want to partner with a woman who is being exposed by her best friend as a manipulator? This is why the threat of the memoir is almost as bad as the book itself. It hangs over them like a dark cloud. Every day that Jessica doesn't sign an NDA, every day she doesn't deny the rumors, the pressure builds. It is psychological warfare. And frankly, after the way Meghan treated Jessica, many would say it is well-deserved. We see this happening in Hollywood all the time. People use each other to get to the top and then discard them when they arrive. But usually, the people they discard don't have this much ammunition. Jessica has the photos. She has the texts. She has the dates. She can prove where they were and who they were with. In conclusion, we are watching a slow-motion car crash. The Yacht Girl rumors are not going away. In fact, they are getting louder and more specific. The photo of the woman in the hat is being analyzed by experts. The connections to Karina Shuliak and Ghislaine Maxwell are being mapped out. And sitting on the sidelines holding the detonator is Jessica Mulroney. Will she take the money? I think she might. She has been humiliated, she has been silenced, and she has been cast aside. $1 million is a nice payday, but the satisfaction of telling her side of the story, that might be priceless. The Sussex squad will try to spin this. They will call it bullying. They will call it racism. They will try to get accounts banned, but they can't scrub the internet completely. The truth has a way of leaking out, like water through a crack in a dam, and right now, the dam is breaking. Thank you so much for listening. This is a developing story, and I have a feeling we are going to be hearing a lot more about Jessica Mulroney in the coming weeks. Let me know in the comments. Would you buy Jessica's book? Do you think the photo is real? And do you think Harry knows the truth about the yacht years? I read every single comment, and I love hearing your theories. Until next time, keep your eyes open, because the truth is often stranger than fiction.